Prime Minister Mark Carney has directed the Defence Ministry to review a $13.2 billion F-35 fighter jet deal signed with the US. Carney's move.
The United Kingdom, one of America's closest allies, offered Canada the option to purchase their domestically produced jets instead of the US-made F-35.
We have alternatives to the F-35. So we will explore those.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's first international trip. It's a quick visit, but jam-packed to strengthen Canada's ties with two of its closest allies, France and the United Kingdom. It's heavily symbolic as well, given Canada...
While Trump was busy threatening Canada, the UK quietly offered them a fighter jet partnership that could destroy America's military dominance forever. The United Kingdom has officially signalled its openness to Canadian participation in the Global Combat Air Programme, GCAP, the ambitious international effort to develop a sixth-generation fighter jet by 2035. This isn't just another defence collaboration, it's a direct challenge to America's monopoly on advanced military aviation and a lifeline to a Canadian government desperate to escape Trump's economic bullying. British Defence Minister Maria Eagle made the UK's position crystal clear in response to a parliamentary question. All three Global Combat Air Programme nations have highlighted an openness to working with other nations while keeping us on track with the programme delivery schedule. The timing of this offer couldn't be more significant. It comes just as Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has ordered a review of Canada's $19 billion F-35 purchase from the United States. What makes this development so explosive is that it offers Canada a genuine alternative to dependence on American military technology at the exact moment when Trump has made that dependence look increasingly dangerous. With Trump threatening to make Canada the 51st state and imposing punitive tariffs on Canadian goods, the prospect of co-developing a fighter jet with Britain, Japan and Italy suddenly looks like the strategic escape hatch Canada has been searching for. The stakes couldn't be higher. For decades, the United States has maintained its global influence, partly through its dominance of advanced military technology. If close allies like Canada begin turning to alternative development programs, it could accelerate the fracturing of the Western defense ecosystem that has underpinned American power since World War II. Tonight we examine how the UK's offer to bring Canada into the GCAP could fundamentally reshape the global fighter jet market, potentially ending America's stranglehold on advanced military aviation and creating a new power center that doesn't answer to Washington's increasingly erratic demands. To understand why the UK's offer to Canada is such a game-changer, we need to look at what's actually happening in the global fighter jet market and how Trump's approach to allies has created this opening. The Global Combat Air Programme isn't just another defence project. It's one of the most ambitious military aviation efforts in decades, bringing together the United Kingdom, Japan and Italy to develop a sixth-generation fighter that will eventually replace the Eurofighter Typhoon and Japan's F-2 fleet. With cutting-edge stealth technology, artificial intelligence, directed energy weapons and the ability to control drone swarms, GCAP represents the future of air combat. What makes GCAP particularly significant is that it's one of the few fighter jet programs in the world not dominated by the United States. For decades, America has maintained near total control over the most advanced military aviation technology, forcing allies to either buy American or accept second-tier capabilities. GCAP challenges this paradigm, offering a genuine alternative developed by a coalition of advanced industrial democracies. The timing of the UK's openness to Canadian participation couldn't be more significant. It comes at precisely the moment when Canada's relationship with the United States has deteriorated to its lowest point in generations. Since returning to the White House, Trump has treated Canada not as an ally but as a target, imposing 25% tariffs on Canadian imports and even suggesting that Canada should become the 51st state, a comment widely interpreted in Ottawa as a threat to Canadian sovereignty. This aggressive approach has forced a fundamental reassessment of Canada's defence procurement strategy. After years of deliberation, Canada finally committed to purchasing 88 F-35 fighter jets from the United States in 2023 at a cost of $19 billion Canadian dollars. The first 16 jets are already paid for and scheduled for delivery in 2026, but Trump's return to office has raised serious questions about the wisdom of deepening Canada's dependence on American military technology. The core concern centers around what defense experts call the kill switch issue. Modern fighter jets, like the F-35, are essentially flying computers, dependent on regular software updates and technical support from the manufacturer. Without these updates, the aircraft's capabilities degrade rapidly, potentially rendering them useless in combat. For the F-35, this dependence is particularly acute. Lockheed Martin and the Pentagon maintain tight control over the aircraft's software and maintenance systems. Countries that purchase the F-35 never gain full access to the source code that controls the jet's operations. This means that, in theory, the United States could restrict updates or support in ways that would effectively ground another country's F-35 fleet. While the Pentagon has officially denied the existence of a literal kill switch, the structural reality remains. F-35 operators are dependent on American goodwill for their aircraft to remain operational. As one Canadian defense analyst put it, "It doesn't matter if there's an actual button someone can push in Washington. If they can withhold updates or parts, the result is the same. Your multi-billion-dollar air force becomes useless." This concern has been amplified by Trump's unpredictable approach to international relations. His willingness to use economic leverage against allies, combined with his transactional view of defense relationships, has raised the specter of F-35 capabilities being used as bargaining chips in future disputes. Prime Minister Mark Carney responded to these concerns by directing Defense Minister Bill Blair to review the entire F-35 purchase and explore alternatives. Blair confirmed that Canada is now actively considering other fighter jets and will speak with competitor aircraft manufacturers. This is where the UK's offer becomes so significant. By opening the door to Canadian participation in GCAP, Britain is offering Canada something far more valuable than just another fighter jet. It's offering a path to genuine technological sovereignty, the ability to co-develop advanced military technology rather than simply purchasing it from the United States with all the strings attached. But for Canada, this represents an extraordinary opportunity. Rather than being merely a customer for American technology, Canada could become a partner in creating the next generation of air combat systems. This would not only reduce dependence on the United States, but also create high-skilled jobs in Canada's aerospace sector and give Ottawa a seat at the table in shaping the future of military aviation. The economic implications are equally significant. Canada's aerospace industry employs over 200,000 people and contributes billions to the national economy. Participation in GCAP could provide a major boost to this sector, creating new opportunities for Canadian companies to develop cutting-edge technologies and integrate into global supply chains not controlled by the United States. From the UK's perspective, bringing Canada into GCAP makes perfect strategic sense. Canada brings substantial aerospace expertise, a skilled workforce, and significant financial resources to the table. As a fellow Commonwealth nation with deep historical ties to Britain, Canada also offers political reliability at a time when international partnerships are increasingly volatile. Japan and Italy, the other GCAP partners, would likely welcome Canadian participation as well. Adding another major economy to the program would help spread development costs and potentially accelerate progress toward the 2035 target for the fighter's entry into service. But there's a deeper strategic game being played here that goes beyond just fighter jets. The UK's offer to Canada represents a fundamental challenge to America's traditional dominance of Western defense technology and Trump's bullying approach to allies. For decades, the United States has been the undisputed leader in military aviation, producing the most advanced fighter jets and selling them to allies around the world. This technological edge has been a cornerstone of American global influence, creating dependencies that extend far beyond the military sphere. When a country buys American fighter jets, it's not just purchasing aircraft. It's buying into an entire ecosystem of training, maintenance, parts, weapons, and updates that can last for decades. This creates powerful incentives for political alignment with Washington, as access to this ecosystem becomes critical to national security. The F-35 was designed to take this dependency to a new level. As a fifth-generation fighter with unmatched stealth and sensor capabilities, it was supposed to be the aircraft that no serious Western Air Force could afford to be without. By controlling this technology, the United States would maintain its central position in global defense networks well into the 21st century. But Trump's approach to allies has fundamentally undermined this strategy. By treating even the closest partners as potential adversaries or extraction targets for economic concessions, he has forced countries to reconsider the wisdom of deepening their technological dependence on the United States. The UK's offer to Canada exploits this strategic error perfectly. It provides a concrete alternative to American dependency at precisely the moment when that dependency looks most dangerous. If Canada accepts the offer and joins GCAP, it would represent a stunning vote of no confidence in American leadership and a major blow to the F-35 program. The implications extend far beyond just Canada. Other countries watching these developments may draw similar conclusions about the risks of relying too heavily on American technology. Australia, another close US ally that has faced Trump's ire, has already been approached about potential participation in GCAP. If multiple traditional US allies begin shifting toward alternative development programs, it could accelerate the fracturing of the Western defense ecosystem. For Trump, this situation creates a difficult dilemma. His America First approach to trade and alliance management is directly undermining one of America's most important sources of global influence, its dominance in defense technology. Yet backing away from this approach would contradict the core message that has defined his presidency. Some in the administration argue that allies have nowhere else to go, that American technology remains so superior that countries like Canada will eventually return to the F-35 regardless of political tensions. But this view significantly underestimates the progress being made by alternative programs like GCAP. While the GCAP fighter won't enter service until 2035, it's being designed from the ground up as a sixth-generation aircraft with capabilities that will likely surpass the F-35. These include more advanced stealth features, greater range, higher speed, directed energy weapons, and sophisticated AI systems for managing drone swarms. By joining the program now, Canada would help shape these capabilities to meet its specific defense needs. Moreover, participation in GCAP would give Canada access to sensitive technologies that the United States has traditionally been reluctant to share, even with close allies. This includes advanced radar systems, electronic warfare capabilities, and the underlying software that controls these systems. Unlike with the F-35, GCAP partners would have much greater control over the technology they help develop. The economic case for Canadian participation is equally compelling. The F-35 program has certainly provided contracts for Canadian aerospace companies, but these have been relatively limited and controlled by American prime contractors. Full participation in GCAP would give Canadian firms the opportunity to take leading roles in developing key technologies, potentially creating more high-value jobs and intellectual property. From a geopolitical perspective, joining GCAP would also allow Canada to diversify its defense relationships at a time when over-reliance on the United States looks increasingly risky. By strengthening ties with the UK, Japan, and Italy, Canada would gain additional partners who could help counterbalance American pressure in other areas. For the United Kingdom, bringing Canada into GCAP represents a major diplomatic victory. Post-Brexit, Britain has been eager to demonstrate that it remains a global player capable of leading major international initiatives. Successfully recruiting Canada into GCAP would validate this ambition and strengthen the UK's position as a bridge between Europe, North America, and the Indo-Pacific. The Japanese government would likely welcome Canadian participation as well. Japan has been working to expand its defense relationships beyond its traditional reliance on the United States, and GCAP represents a major step in this direction. Adding another G7 democracy to the program would further legitimize this effort and potentially accelerate technology development. For the Trump administration, the prospect of Canada joining GCAP represents a serious strategic setback. It would not only mean the loss of a major F-35 customer, but also signal to other allies that alternatives to American dependency exist and are worth pursuing. This could trigger a broader reassessment of defense relationships that has traditionally favored the United States. Some defense analysts argue that the administration should respond by offering Canada better terms on the F-35, perhaps greater technology transfer or more favorable pricing, but this approach misses the fundamental issue. The problem isn't the specific terms of the F-35 deal. It's the broader relationship with the United States under Trump that has become too unpredictable and coercive for comfort. As long as Trump continues to treat allies like adversaries, imposing tariffs, making territorial threats, and generally acting as an unreliable partner, the appeal of alternatives like GCAP will only grow. The UK's offer to Canada isn't just about fighter jets. It's about providing an escape route from an increasingly dysfunctional relationship with Washington. For Canada, the decision ahead is momentous. Joining GCAP would represent a fundamental shift in its defense procurement strategy and a significant reorientation of its international partnerships. It would also likely trigger fierce opposition from Washington and potentially new economic threats from the Trump administration. But the alternative, proceeding with the F-35 purchase and deepening dependence on the United States at a time when that dependence looks increasingly dangerous, carries its own serious risks. As Prime Minister Carney weighs these options, the UK's offer provides a genuine alternative that simply didn't exist before. What do you think about the UK's offer to bring Canada into its fighter jet programme? Is this a smart move for Canada to reduce its dependence on an increasingly hostile United States, or a risky gamble that could trigger even more aggressive retaliation from Trump? And what does this mean for America's global influence? Is Trump's bullying of allies actually destroying US power from within? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage of global defense and security issues. We'll be following this story closely as it develops. Thanks for watching.